Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday, 6th of June. We're going to take a look at some market analysis, see what's happening in the markets, see if we can't find trading areas which we may be able to take advantage of. Just a quick introduction about myself. Those of you who haven't been here before, I've been trading a long time, trading futures, Forex, commodities, both algo and systematic trading. And so, my goal and purpose here is really to see if I can pass some of my knowledge on to you guys, those of you who may be interested. As with all webinars that I do, there's a risk disclaimer. Please take a moment to read it and understand it. Trading is risky and you need to know what you're doing. Anything I'm going to show you today is not investment advice. It's purely for education. So the agenda for today really is, we've done the introduction. We're going to look at live charts, live markets, and I'm going to show you how I look for trading setups every single day. We're also going to look at some economic news that might be coming up today and see how that might affect us and how we may trade around that. We're also going to use the free Zenfinex Plus tools, which I'm going to run through towards the end. And you might be interested in those. Let's get straight to charts, which is what I prefer doing. Just bear with me for a second. Let's get the charts up. Right, sorry about that. Couldn't find my tabs. Right, so look, what I do every single time I come here, I strip away all my charts with previous lines and start looking at the markets fresh again. So the first thing we're going to do really is get rid of all the old lines and look at the market afresh, because when, and this is a habit sometimes people can fall into. They have old lines on there. They don't really know what they're doing or what you're meant to do around those lines. So I've got a habit of stripping everything back and starting again for two reasons. One, it cleans up my charts, and second, it gets me in tune with what is happening, so I don't really miss any important levels from longer periods. Longer periods meaning weekly perspective, daily perspective, and such like things. So first things first, let's get rid of some of the old lines. And it's likely that, we'll be putting these lines back in again, but the process of putting them back in again sort of focuses your mind, gets you in tune with a trading mindset, and, we can go from there. Welcome to all those that have arrived. Let me just see. If you have any questions, there's a chat box. Please don't hesitate to ask me a question or to look at any particular instruments, and I'll see what I can do. So let's have a look. Let's start with gold first. We obviously had news last week with non-farm payroll. Let's just see what impact that had. So let's just look at gold first. And as I said, what I'm going to do is start from a longer term perspective, and that'll start framing my trading ideas, anything that I think might be interesting to look at from sort of today's perspective. But as always, I put in some major levels in just to make sure I don't miss them. So from a daily perspective, I'm just going to move that up a little bit so we know there's some weekly levels that we need to be careful of. I might just move that up a little bit because it's showing really only one bar on a daily perspective closing above this weekly level. Let's put some daily lines in on gold. And the reason why it is there, because obviously in the past, if I adjust this a little bit, you'll be able to see that prices came up, hit this level here, came down, took some liquidity away, and then came back down to a previous an interesting level, and really it's bounced off here, gone through this previous level of resistance, made support, found resistance at the top here, and now it's sort of within this trading range, if you like. So what we'll be looking to do for gold, now let's go down to a slightly smaller time frame, the 4-hourly time frame, and we can see that this level here, the 1939 level, is important, right? So it's bounced, 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 bounced. We have some resistance at the top here, which we need to keep an eye on. So by doing this, I've already now started to look at, you know, what I'm potentially looking for a trade setup or not, because it looks like it's in a bit of a sideways market at the moment. It's tried to break through, came back down, and we can see where we are right now. There is a smaller level here, which we just need to be mindful of. I'm just going to put that around here. So why am I putting this line here? Prices came down, bounced off it, and now it's got itself trapped within this range, fell through it, another daily level of support, and really it's just been bouncing between the two. So how do we look for trade setups? We're right smack bang in the middle. Let's see if we can't draw any other tools which might help us. So we know that this downward channel looks like it's broken, right? So this was from a 4-hourly perspective, a downward channel. Let's just tighten that up a little bit. It looks like we're out of that channel now. So what we need to do is to see, has this created an up channel, or is it starting to create? And by doing that, we can start biasing our trading ideas. You know, are we looking to go long on gold, or we're looking to go short, or not? Because again, we're trapped in this range between 1981 and 1939. There is, you know, enough space in there for us to take a trade, but we have to try to get an idea of direction. You know, where is it likely to go? Is it just going to bounce up here, come back down, bounce here? Or do we have any kind of ideas where this may go? At the moment, from the perspective that I'm looking at right now, I can't see a trade here, because this is smack bang in the middle of this range, probably almost exactly in the middle of this range. So I'll be really looking to see, let me see if I can tighten that up a little bit, go to an hourly perspective. You know, so if we wanted to play this as being a target here, let me put the cursor on. Let me put the object on first. We can see, okay, let me just make sure I've got the right tool, insert objects, rectangle. So we can see here, we're stuck in a bit of a range from an hourly perspective. So really that's just overnight price movements. It gapped up here. We can see a gap, hit this level here, went above it, and now this is looking at level of support here. So with this gap, we know, don't we, from our previous webinars, that these gaps are important. So let's put a little rectangle here to identify that prices move rapidly away, broke this level of resistance, coming down to support. So it would not surprise me if the value of gold came down to retest this level here. Let's just see if we can pick up a level here. So as a trading idea, right, we've got two options, haven't we? We've got one which, let's see if I can draw an arrow line here. Probably not. You know, is it going to go up to there, or is it going to fill the gap here? And the fact that it moved away rapidly and stopped at this level of consolidation tells me that really there's strength. When I say strength, I'm really talking from an intraday hourly perspective, because if I dial back out again, all it's showing us is sideways in the middle of this range. But we can still, you know, take positions to take advantage of this range. And the only trade I can really see is this gap. So we can either take a breakout below this to fill this gap. So our target would be here. So we're looking for a short below this level here, 1956, with a target of 1948. It might go further down. It may come and retest this level here, but I have strong conviction this gap will get filled. Will it get filled today, or will it pop up, take some liquidity, and then come down? Or is it going to do a continuation of this strength that showed up yesterday? Is it going to continue? Is this a pause or the continuation to go up here? So really, if you want to play gold and trade gold, you need to see a breakout of this section here. And when I talk about breakout, I don't mean just a poke. I want to see it break out, retest it, and then come back down. So that's kind of the area I'll be looking at. And if it does come down, poke through, and then start its journey back up, then we're looking to go long back into this consolidation area here. So let's draw that in. So we can see here, prices could find themselves back into this area here. So, you know, in terms of risk to reward from an hourly perspective, you know, you've got a one-to-one, probably maximum less than one-to-one here. So you need to take that into consideration if you're thinking about taking a gold trade. I hope that helps. Is there any questions regarding that? Sometimes I tend to go on a bit. If you have any questions, please do ask, and I'll try to help you. Let's have a look at something else. Let's have a look at the Aussie dollar. The reason why I look at the Aussie dollar, because I think they just raised the interest rates, and that would have an impact on the Aussie dollar. So let's do exactly the same thing. Let's start framing the market. Framing means look for long, key support and resistance areas from a weekly perspective. We could put this one down here, but I don't think it's going to come down to this level, but I'll just put it in just for good measure. We then go to the daily, and if I squeeze it up a little bit, we can see there's resistance on the daily around here. I might just move that down a little bit. So I want to not only see it happen frequently here, but I also want to see it in the past as well, because that will tell me that this level is important, right? So look, resistance, broke through, messed around, broke through, messed around, broke through, came back, retested it, retested it, retested it, retested it. So we need to be very mindful of this area here, which is at 67.84 from a daily perspective. We see it bounced off this level here, took some liquidity away from this down move here. And it's, I guess, because of the news, it's probably going to head back up to retest this level here. So if I now go to a 4-hourly perspective, what other levels are going to be interesting to me? Excuse me, let me just grab some water. So we can see here, let's follow the flow down. Came down, came back up and sort of knocked out this consolidation here, broke through, couldn't get higher than that, so we know we're in a downtrend. So I'm just going to put a channel along here. And the channel really is just to see where it broke and see where it might come and retest it. So this down channel has ended. So we are looking for buys now. We're looking to see if there are any areas that we can pick up buying opportunities. And if we look at this level here, why am I looking at this level here? So prices broke through it, resistance, resistance, resistance from a 4-hourly perspective, broke through, had a recheck on it, and now it's heading upwards. Areas that it will probably have a little bit of issues of breaking through it. Let me put that there. So this ABC pattern, is it going to hit its head here before it gets to this area here? So if we are of the mind to go long, because we can see a bit of a up channel developing, think I just need to tighten this channel up a bit to make it hit as many of the points as possible. So that's what I do when I look for channels. I try to get as many inflection points as possible. Inflection points. Okay, that'll do for now. So we can see this downward channel back from May. Hit some level of support, broke through this sort of sideways action that we would have picked up, I think. Let's put a level here. So we've got some sideways action here, and we're going to project it across a little bit, because obviously as it's going so high up, I'm not going to go long on this. I have to wait for a pullback. And the two areas or three areas that I can see that we might get some pullback is, let's just draw that in, is either around here, or back to this main level here. It has done a retest, and I'm not sure if it's going to come and retest this again, because of the fact that when it went up, it couldn't get past this. So this might be an area that we'll look to go long. So if prices pull back, we're going to take a buy order here, or think about taking a buy order here, with the first target here and the second target here. I hope that makes sense. Anybody have any questions? Let's see if there's any questions. Nope. Right. So those of you who've watched these in the past, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. As you can see, when we start off from the weekly, we don't know what we're doing. We just drill down, drill down, drill down, and get to a point where we can start marking up levels, which could be interesting as entry points. So let's just go back a little bit further. So clearly we've had this big move. That was the interest rate announcement from Australian Bank. We can see that it tried to, or found resistance at this level here. And that may be the other areas. So we've got a few areas where we can look at to see if it will come and retest. We're definitely not going to buy now. We're going to wait until we see some price action. This consolidation is probably going to be acting as a level of support here. So it's knowing which one of these levels to take. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by watching price action and seeing how it reacts. Because look, if you look at this break through this consolidation area, it was there a very, very short period of time, but it gave you enough strength to take a long, came back, retested it, and then it just charged ahead, and it will probably do that again. Whether it gets to this point first before a pullback, my gut feel is that it's probably going to come back and retest these areas here where we can take long, but there's definitely strength. We've broken that long-term channel. Just want to see if there's any questions. So it's, I'm going to try to keep this webinar to about 35, 40 minutes. Let's have a look at another instrument. So we've looked at the Aussie dollar. Let's have a look at the FTSE 100. We're going to do exactly the same thing from a weekly perspective. Mark up some important levels. We can probably go all the way to here, actually. Because look, if we can see, turned here, although it went up a little bit, it did actually come down. Well, the daily will make that a bit more accurate. So we can see here the daily. So this area now is going to be an area that we're going to look. Already it's actually reversed from this level here. Let's put some daily levels of support and resistance. I'm going to move that up a little bit. We can see that markets turned here. So we're starting to frame a trading opportunity on the FTSE 100. So let's see if we go down to the 4-hourly level, what are we seeing? So we've marked up our longer term support and resistance levels. Now we're looking to see, is there any opportunities to get some sort of direction and to start framing our bias. Let's have a look here. So from a 4-hourly perspective, really, I think this was sort of from Friday's price action. It sort of didn't do much yesterday, but let's put those levels in as well so we are consistent in what we're doing. So we can see here, there is a level of resistance. You can see this gap that eventually got filled. And we can see some levels of resistance here. So now we're starting to frame important levels, right? Because even when we, I know we were looking at this level before, came back, resisted, came back down, and now if I draw a level of support here, we're now starting to narrow in and get some ideas on, is the next likely move up or down? So let's go to try to see if anything is helping us in terms of direction. But I think what it's doing here, from this important level of 77.91, it's sold off. That's definitely level of, the support turned into resistance. We're exactly at resistance level now. And the big question is it going to come and retest this consolidation area down here? Before it goes up. The overall trend is clearly down. So let's see if we can draw a channel to see if there's any levels that can be drawn with the channel that might help us. Yeah, not really. So I'm going to remove the channel. All we've really got is a consolidation level here. For quite some time, I think we looked at this when this was happening on the FTSE, doing nothing, broke down, broke through a level of previous support, retested it, and retested it here. So actually, I would say at the moment, from what I can see here, if I go back to the daily, get a different perspective. Yeah, we really just got this long bar here, retest here. If I draw a channel here, let's start with the trend line, see what that's doing. Right, are we still in this upward channel? Upward trend. The channel just looks too big for me to even bother drawing in, but let's draw it in anyway. Get rid of this trend line. And what I'm really trying to do with going through these simple steps is to get an idea, is the market next move up or down? And to do that, we have to look at, what happened previously, came down, bounced off this trend line, if you like, and this level of support, bounced off it, couldn't quite get past this point here. And every time it hasn't got past this point here. So, from a daily perspective, it still looks weak, but these strength bars are giving some sort of hope that this may go back and retest this level here. But apart from that, it's, from a pure visual perspective, you can see that it's kind of stuck within this range here. So we need a breakout to see if it will retest the 77.91, or it's going to come back and retest this. So hopefully, are there any questions? I don't think there is. Let's continue. I'm going to try to keep this to 30 to 40 minutes. Let's have a look at news and see what's happening on the news front. I've got a feeling not much, and that's probably why it's difficult to pick out a direction for these. So let's make sure that's being visible. Right, so this is the free ZenFinex portal, which has all these tools here, which I'll cover on a separate webinar. But essentially, we're going to look at the calendar and see how the calendar might help us to either be aware of any news upcoming or not. So we haven't got much coming up, except for the Aussie, for the Canadian dollar. So let's just have a look at what impact this had on a previous news announcement. So we can see here, the last announcement was in May 10th, and after that news, it moved in a range of 37 pips. It's sort of 15 minutes afterwards. And I tend to look at the 4-hourly afterwards for previous events. So what it did, it immediately came down, recovered, and more or less ended where it started. So, and that was based upon building permits being a lot higher than forecast and previous. So it looks like it didn't move the currency that much, because after 4 hours, it more or less got back to where it started. So I'm not sure if that's going to be repeated this afternoon, but there doesn't look like much going on. I'll go to the medium news filter. Let's see if there's anything else that might sort of help us pick direction and pick. So we've got some crude, API crude stock. Usually the news that comes out on a Wednesday at 3:30 London time is much more impactful for oil prices. Yeah, not much going on. Let's have a look at the trading ideas and trading feature. So trading ideas basically is a tool within the free portal that will give you some trade ideas with a bit of description on what it might be doing. So let's have a look at the GBP USD. So, and we'll do the same. We'll go to our charts and have a look. So this is from a 1-hourly perspective. We found a pattern called inside bar. So this inside bar is indicating bearishness. So they're looking for price to break out on the downside from this pattern here, from an hourly perspective. Obviously, you have to look at your own charts and see if that actually makes sense to you or not. And we'll do that right now. But let's just read what it says. Found a pattern called inside bar so it's 4 o'clock London time or GMT today, suggesting the outlook is bearish for the next 12 hours. A bearish event triggered, and they use stochastics and moving average. Anybody knows, been to my webinars, I don't tend to use moving averages, oscillators, or such like things. So let's do a bit of analysis on this GBP USD and see if we agree with what they're saying. So they're saying it, look, on the stochastics, it's overbought. The next move is likely to be down because the inside bar is also indicating that. And purely from looking at it from a price perspective, let's see what the charts are telling us, our own charts. So if we go to the GBP USD, which we don't have at the moment, let's put that in. So the objective really is to see if we agree with, just get rid of some of this stuff. So we're starting from a daily perspective. Let's go, and again, let's do the same old thing. Look for weekly levels. It doesn't take long. Resistance, resistance, support, support, support. This is our sort of area that we're going to be looking at for any trading opportunities. We'll go to the daily and we'll draw a level of support here. And remember, the reason for doing this is because not only are we looking for direction, we're looking at where we can put stops and targets by using support and resistance. So we can also see that there's a gap here, which will be interesting to observe. So we'll be looking to see if this gap is retested. So we've got support, resistance. Let's go down to a 4-hourly. And remember, they were looking at an hourly. So let's just see if we can see that too. So let's put our levels of resistance here. Our support probably about there, because it's consolidation. I'm going to have to move it up because it didn't quite get to it, but that whole area has been a level which it doesn't really want to go back into. Now let's start looking at their hourly trade idea. So they're saying it's weak. So I'm just going to go back to the idea, read it a bit more and see if it makes sense to us. Right. So this was at 4 o'clock, inside bar, looking for it to go down. So it does look bearish. Let's see if we can get that chart back up again. And it's been coming off for the last 2 or 3 hours. I think there might be a little bit of resistance around here. And if the idea is, I haven't looked at it, putting a stop here, actually, let's get rid of that line. Putting a stop here. I mean, I'm not sure about this one. It's it will probably get down to here, but the entry is going to be a bit more difficult. So let's see if we can put an object there and see if we can find a precise level where we would be thinking about putting a trade on. I'll just color that orange. So the way I would play this is that I would be looking for a retest up to here with a move down to here with a stop just above here. So it may just continue going down, but we never chase prices, because if we chase prices, our distance for our stop gets bigger and bigger. We want to try to maintain a smallest possible level or a distance between our stop and our entry price. So I think we'll keep an eye on that. Maybe we'll have a look at that. I'll keep these lines in, see what it actually does. And that was based upon this trade right here. I'm not going to look at any more. Let's just see what else might be setting up. The Aussie dollar is bearish. Well, we've been seeing it with strength, haven't we? Like, it moved up. We've had a pattern called shooting star, so they're looking really from an hourly perspective. I don't think it's a very strong selling indication. If it does come down, it'll be just for a very short period, probably down to this level here, and then continue going up. So I'm actually bullish on this, to be honest with you. So the whole point is that when you get, these trade ideas, for you to go to your chart and see how and what sense you can make out of it, rather than just taking them blindly, which I wouldn't do. Let's now go back to our last bit presentation. So we've done a bit of analysis. I had no requests. We looked at upcoming news, not so much today. Trade setups, we've had a look at some trade setups that we found in gold and Aussie dollar. We looked at the trade setups from the Zenfinex Plus tools, and really to access these tools, let's finish up with the presentation here. They are free, so just go to this URL and register, and there's no charge or anything like that. and you'll be able to get those tools and see if they can help you with your own trading. And I will be doing some webinars on those tools individually in the upcoming weeks. So, and of course, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me at Zenfinex, and always happy to help. So let me just check to make sure there's no more questions. More questions. So thank you. That's the end of the morning briefing, really, and we'll look on Thursday to see how the ideas that we came up with today, see how they panned out. Hope you all have a great day. Thank you.